Welcome. Welcome to week 3, finishing of our Plant Powered Challenge. So excited to have you all here with us today on this awesome Friday. We have a really fantastic treat for you today. So for those of you that haven't seen me yet, I'm Krista Gass, the registered dietitian for Corewell Health's Lifestyle Medicine program. And we have just an amazing plant-powered advocate and just an amazing guy all around today with us, Dr. Michael Greger, who is joining us today. He is a founding member and a fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. He's a physician and internationally recognized speaker on nutrition. His science-based nonprofit, nutritionfacts.org, offers a free online portal hosting more than 2,000 videos and articles on myriad health topics. Dr. Greger is a sought-after lecturer and has presented at the Conference on World Affairs and the World Bank, testified before Congress, and was invited as an expert witness in the famous Oprah Winfrey's defense in meat defamation trial. A graduate of Cornell University School of Agriculture and Tufts University School of Medicine, Dr. Greger is also an acclaimed author, How Not to Die, the How Not to Die cookbook, How Not to Diet, and now How Not to Age became instant New York Times bestsellers. More than 1 million copies of How Not to Die have been sold. So welcome, Dr. Greger. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is really the icing on the plant-based cake.
So happy to be here, though being compared to frosting is not exactly on brand.
How about a plant-based frosting, right? Maybe.
How about a little balsamic glaze on your vegetables?
All right. Yes, that sounds tasty to me. That sounds super tasty to me. Well, so excited about your book, How Not to Age. I have devoured it. I'll show you that it's already all torn up here because I've been reading it so much. But once again, just a wonderful evidence-based packed book for us to dig into and information that we can trust, as usual, from you. So I'd like to start off talking a little bit about our aging and kind of how we think about aging. So many people think that they're destined for certain diseases, maybe that have been so-called passed down through their family. And also as we age, just how we visualize aging, and we visualize it as maybe being in a nursing home, maybe not being able to move or walk to where we want to go to, do the things in our life that we want to be doing and enjoying with our family and our loved ones. So is this something that we can make possible, this dream of aging and doing what we want, being at home independently? Is this something that we can change for ourselves, or are we doomed to our genetics when it comes to how we age?
According to studies of identical twins, only about 25% of the difference in lifespan between people is determined by genetics. And so for what we can do over the majority of which we have some control, we can look to, for example, the blue zones, these areas of exceptional longevity around the world, where they center their diets around whole plant foods, minimizing processed foods, meat, dairy, sugar, egg, salt, while maximizing fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils, nuts and seeds, mushrooms, herbs, and spices, basically real food that grows out of the ground. These are our healthiest choices.
So is our number one cause, would you say, of premature death and disability, would you say number one cause is diet?
I wouldn't say that, but the Global Burden of Disease study would say it. And that's why I say it's the largest systematic analysis of death and disability in history, found that the number one cause of death and disability in the United States is the American diet. What we eat, what we put at the end of our fork, is the most important decision we can make for the health and well-being of ourselves and our family.
Yeah, we get this choice, sometimes 3 times a day, or for some of us, maybe more, of every time that we choose to put something in our mouth is a choice towards health span, increasing that maybe, and feeling better as we age. Can you speak a little bit to the difference between health span and lifespan and why we should be thinking about this?
Sure. I mean, health span, it's not just about adding years to your life, but life to your years. When asked how long people would like to live and given the choice between 85, 120, 150, or indefinitely, most people, about two-thirds, said they'd prefer only to live to 85. But when the question was reframed as, oh, no, how long do you wish to live in guaranteed mental and physical health? Then all of a sudden the most popular answer switched to an unlimited lifespan. So this raised the concept of health span, the period of life spent in good health, free from chronic disease and lung and disability. I mean, what's the point of living longer if you're not living it vibrantly? Healthy plant-based diets offer the best of both worlds: improved longevity, slowed aging, and improved health span, which is so excited. Which is why I'm so excited that you're participating in this 30-day plant-powered challenge.
Yeah, so we can finally start to take some of that control back and start to improve how we live those years. How do we add life to our years? And it's not, we don't think about it till we get into that, right? And we're in it and we're living in this, chronic disease and our health span is decreased. And then we're in it and we go, ooh, I wish I would have done something about this earlier. And the fact is there's so much that we can do right in our kitchens with changing that.
So it's never too late. Never too
Yeah.
late to stop smoking, to start eating healthier, to start moving. We really do have the power.
Yeah, I think that's really empowering for a lot of people to find out. I noticed that when I talk with my patients that they always get kind of excited and energized by that, knowing, wow, so I can actually do something for myself. In the book, you talk about these 11 pathways of aging, which I found fascinating, of course, because I love to dig into that kind of stuff. And I just love how you laid it out there. And essentially, you discuss these pathways and they can be controlled through diet and lifestyle. And we know, since we talked about already, that genes run in families. And so also, I think you said so famously, diet runs in families. Those
Absolutely. Or
traditions.
nobody runs in families.
Right.
Got to
Yeah.
exercise
I
too.
love, that's awesome. I love that. I'm going to borrow that, but I'll credit you for it. So does genetics play a role in these aging pathways? And how much so versus our lifestyle when it comes to these aging pathways?
Oh, genetics certainly plays a role. So one of the reasons why my kind of heritage, Ashkenazi Jews, live so long is because of this mutation in the IGF-1 receptor, which is a cancer-promoting, pro-aging hormone. But we can decrease IGF-1 activity without any genetic alterations by just decreasing our intake of animal protein, which is what boosts the production of IGF-1 from our liver.
Yeah, so that that animal protein question is a big one. And this is something that, we hear all the time, from people, even our friends and family, is protein, 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 protein. And we're very protein obsessed. And I'm super passionate about gut health. So I'm always saying we should be fiber obsessed rather than protein obsessed. But
Of course.
everyone's worried they're not getting enough protein. And you talk at one point in the book about calorie restriction and protein restriction and how much we've learned about that with longevity. What are the risks of consuming excess protein, and does it make a difference what source that comes from? What is the main difference?
When it comes to protein aging, less may be more. Reducing protein intake, meaning restricting protein intake down to recommended levels, is the only thing that I can find that can block all 11 of the aging pathways, boosting NAD, improving immunity, decreasing oxidative stress, inflammation, insulin resistance, as well as the cancer-promoting growth hormone IGF-1. Surprisingly, there's no benefit for adding extra protein to the diets of older men and women in terms of muscle mass, muscle strength, or physical performance. Instead, the excess protein most Americans get causes a drop in the pro-longevity hormone called FGF21, a drop of testosterone, a worsening of the age-accelerating enzyme mTOR. So we really should strive to stick to the recommended 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram of body weight, which comes out to be about 45 grams a day for the average height woman, 55 grams a day for the average height man. Though after age 65, 1 gram per kilogram body weight maybe is reasonable as well, but critically important, it should be plant protein as opposed to animal protein, since it's really about restricting particular amino acids which are concentrated in animal proteins such as methionine and the branched chain amino acids.
Yeah, so plant proteins, are something that, I talk about a lot with chronic kidney disease patients, especially too.
Mhm.
So we know so much more about, what we can do to help at least slow the progression down of chronic kidney disease. And it comes down to that source of the animal protein versus the plant protein and just how they're metabolized in the body and how they're used and some of the burden that can arise if we have an excessive amount of animal protein coming in as well. So, can we get all of our proteins or our amino acids? Can we get all of those from our plant foods?
Not only can we get them all, that's where they all come from in the first place. These are essential amino acids, meaning we can't make them, but animals can't make them either. They need to take them into their diet. How do them? And so all essential amino acids come from the soil, come from plants and microbes. And so we can cut out the middle moo by getting these essential amino acids directly by eating our whole plant foods.
I love that, the middle moo. That illustrates it absolutely perfectly. Yes, that's where animals are getting it too. And I think a lot of people are surprised to find out about that, oh yeah, that's right. If I really think about that, they're out there kind of grazing and they're eating plant foods, and that's where they're getting their proteins from. A lot of people on here I know are very familiar with the Daily Dozen that you developed, and we definitely utilize that a lot in our program. So thank you so much for that incredible resource. First of all, we developed a program around your Daily Dozen so we can kind of help people dig into that a little bit more and learn the evidence. In your book, you have the anti-aging 8, which I was so glad you did that. I was hoping you would do something like that because it really helps people be able to apply this. Can you share just a little bit with us about those anti-aging 8 and how that's different from the Daily Dozen?
Yeah, it's just, an actionable checklist to complement the daily dozen, highlighting specific foods and habits like nuts, greens, and berries that have the potential to offer really some of the best opportunities to slow aging and improve longevity. Though, if you're already doing the daily dozen, you are really far along the way. In terms of anti-aging foods, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, the largest life expectancy gains would be expected by eating more legumes. So if there's one thing we could eat, legumes for longevity, hummus for health, and that's because of the prebiotics, like fiber-resistant starch that feed the probiotic good bacteria in our gut, like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, to make beneficial postbiotics like butyrate and acetate that are absorbed through our colon wall into our bloodstream, circulate throughout our body, decreasing inflammation, boosting immunity, improving muscle strength and frail individuals. Although legumes rule the roost on a per serving basis, on an ounce per ounce basis, nuts actually associated with the lowest risk of premature death compared to any other food group. I recommend a palm full of walnuts a day. Dark green leafy vegetables earn their place in anti-aging aid as the vegetable most associated with a longer lifespan. The nitrates in greens can improve age-related declines in muscle and artery function and improve and slow our metabolic rate. The sulforaphane in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli can improve immune function, boost the detox enzymes in our liver and airways. Berries earn their place as the fruit most associated with a longer lifespan. It talks about the benefits of amla, dried Indian gooseberry powder, and the anthocyanin pigments in berries thought to account for their benefits for cognitive function, eyesight, inflammation, blood sugar, artery function, cholesterol. Though they do get cleared from our bloodstream within 6 hours, so I recommend dosing every meal with berries or savory sources, hibiscus tea, or purple cabbage, purple sweet potatoes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, those colors, they mean a lot. They're beautiful to look at, but they mean a lot. I always, am saying if you see these other colors of fruits and vegetables that maybe you don't normally see, like the purple cauliflowers or the purple potatoes, grab them. Get those
I'm with
awesome
you. I'm with
anthocyanins
you.
into your diet. Yes. And that brings me to my next one is beans. Our challenge actually next week for our last week of the Plant Power Challenge is about adding more beans. And beans, I think, like you referenced the blue zones, that's the thing that was consistent. Very different cultures around the world, but consistent in that they were using beans as a major source of not only plant protein, but also getting fantastic fiber in. So you talked about some of the benefits of beans and how they contribute to aging. And I find too that people that need the beans the most are the ones that tend to have the most difficulty getting them in their diet and kind of
Mm.
are afraid of them. Do you have any suggestions for people that may want to include more beans in their diet, but they're a little apprehensive because of how they feel when they eat them? Any tips for that?
Well, it makes sense that the people with the worst microbiomes, those that have been a result of, slathering their insides with cheeseburgers and milkshakes their whole lives, I mean, they just don't have the fiber feeding machinery in their gut. But these are the good gut florists. You have to foster the growth of them by eating what they eat, these prebiotics like dietary fiber. Some people, I mean, most people are fine, just, increasing their legume intake. But for those who experience any kind of gastrointestinal upset, like bloating or excessive gas, they can just go slow, even if it takes, a teaspoon of, chickpeas a day to slowly ramp up, soon you develop, as you foster the growth of these good gut bugs, they're better able to, ferment these good prebiotics, and that fosters the growth of gas consuming bacteria to balance everything out. So then you get the best of both worlds, where you feel fantastic and you're protected against all the ravages of aging that postbiotics can help protect against.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of the beans. And beans are your friend, and you just have to go slow with them. And consistency is key when it comes to them, not having them just sporadically in the diet as we go. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about soy. So soy is something that's just kind of been this big, I feel like almost an ugly blemish on nutrition, in itself overall. And it's a big question that I know we all get, that, working in this field of nutrition is, well, soy is unsafe for me to eat. So we have a lot of people that ask about that. And if, is it harmful, or does it have a benefit to aging to include whole soy in your diet?
Oh, soy is a healthy legume like any other. In fact, the Okinawa Japanese, that was their primary protein source, was soy, and they live the second longest living population in history, second only to the vegetarian Loma Linda Adventists. And so, yeah, I encourage people to include soy in their diet, or any of the legumes. But the soy has those phytoestrogens, which decrease the risk of breast cancer, improve associated with improved survival and decreased relapse of breast cancer, and protect bone health, etc. On down the list. So, and I focus on soy foods in my chapter on preserving your hormone balance. I talking about how effective they can be in reducing menopausal vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats.
Yeah, and whole food soy, right? Whole food soy is where we get the benefit. So, what examples of whole food soy do you think
So, I
are?
mean, these just things, just soybeans out of a can, just like you can get black beans in a can, pinto beans in a can, you can get cans of soybeans. You want to get the no added salt varieties, or edamame, immature green soybeans, delicious. You can get them in the pod, and they're fun to eat. Tempeh, you can see the individual soybeans in a block of tempeh. So those are some of the whole soy foods. They're really the best because with less processing, there's more nutrition in the product.
Yeah, definitely. Not all these different processed, a lot of plant-based processed foods that are sprouting up everywhere. And that's where we see a lot of processed soy. And that's the type of stuff that we really should be avoiding, just like we would with other processed foods. And
Though,
so,
I mean, compared to what they're meant to replace, they're far
yeah,
superior, right? And
yeah.
so I see these kind of like, plant-based burgers, etc., as great transition foods, stepping stone foods, moving towards a healthier diet. Not everyone can go all kale and quinoa overnight. So having the same kind of flavors and taste and mouthfeel of foods you grew up with can help people make that transition. So I think I'm so glad that they're around, but I don't want people to stall there. I want people to continue to improve their diet, to include more of the healthiest of healthy foods, these whole unprocessed plant foods.
Yeah, for sure. Taking those steps towards improving that diet quality. How about beverages? So beverages, I find a big one in our diet here in the United States, where beverages come in and actually provide a lot of our calories. Kind of those empty calories, maybe sugar sweetened beverages. So you talk in your book about different types of beverages and kind of what are our better ones, what are maybe our ones that we should really be minimizing. And so you talk about pop and water and tea, coffee, the big one, alcohol, which I feel like is always the elephant in the room. And we don't talk enough about that, but what is best for aging and health when it comes to our beverage choices?
Oh, well, the healthiest beverages are water, green or black tea, coffee, and herbal tea such as chamomile, hibiscus, and green or red rooibos tea. We should avoid alcohol, sugary beverages such as soda, as well as diet soda and whole milk. If drinking juice, salt-free tomato or vegetable blend is probably the best option, but better to eat whole fruits instead.
Yeah, so we can get all of our nutrients in there together, working together synergistically. Well, I want to pivot a little into Q&A because I know that we're going to have a lot of people submitting questions here for you since they have this fantastic opportunity. We encourage that today. So I'm going to pull up some questions here to ask you. So our first one is from Alex. What are your thoughts about supplementing plant-based endurance athletes with iron deficiency anemia with iron pills? And Alex says, I've read multiple articles on yournutritionfacts.org, but I can't find any that address the fact that endurance athletes, for a variety of reasons, tend to have higher rates of iron deficiency anemia. So any thoughts on that or anything to add with that? I know there's a second part to this question that I'll add in just a second, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the best way to get our nutrients is from foods first. And so I would encourage people to try that, combining iron-rich foods with vitamin C-rich foods, which improve the absorption of plant-based iron. And so that's broccoli, bell peppers, tropical fruits, citrus, etc. And so I would try that first and continue to get retested. If not, then you may end up having to take supplemental iron, but let's try food first.
Yeah, food always first for the win if we can, and supplementing and filling the gaps if we absolutely have to do that. Trina asks, oops, hang on, it popped away from me there. So she says, Dr. Greger has been promoting plant-based living for some time. What is the hot topic on his research team's plate? Oh, trying to get a good.
I just wrote the book proposal for my next book, which will be on surviving cancer. Should be out December 2027.
Oh, exciting. I like something to look forward to. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us. And great question, Trina. Nicole says, what are the best plant-based foods for protein and muscle growth? Foods to help post-surgery rehabilitation and muscle regrowth.
Well, you have to get sufficient protein. You can get that through the plant protein superstars, legumes, beans, chickpeas, and lentils. And in terms of what we can do to actually grow muscles, resistance exercise, strength training, it's really the critical piece. So creatine supplementation can help with that, but of course, only when combined with resistance exercise.
Yes, it's not just one magic pill, right? We have to include all these pieces of the puzzle for our lifestyle. Mary says, is there one bean in particular that is better for you than another?
Whichever bean you will eat is the healthiest.
I like that.
Though I guess probably beluga lentils, those small black lentils, might be the healthiest, but literally whichever you're gonna eat.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever is easiest for you to get in and you enjoy, right? At least you're getting in some beans. Colleen says, what about eating soy products for those with hypothyroidism?
Oh, well, as long as you're getting sufficient iodine intake, it's not a problem. There's these so-called goitrogenic compounds in a variety of healthy foods, such as flax, cruciferous vegetables, and soy foods, that interfere with the uptake of iodine into the thyroid gland, which is important for the production of thyroid hormones. But rather than avoiding these really healthy foods, we should just ensure we get sufficient iodine intake. It really only affects people with marginal iodine intake. The healthiest source of iodine are sea vegetables. And so you can sprinkle a little dulse on your food, snack on nori sheets, put some alaria in your soup, or whatever it takes.
Yes, yes. And do you also advise when it comes to soy and people with hypothyroidism, as far as timing to eat soy in the medication they take with with their
matter.
hypothyroidism? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Excellent. Thank you. There's a lot of questions about that that I hear quite often. Ed is asking, are lectins a real thing to worry about?
I encourage you to go to nutritionfacts.org, type in lectins, and all will be revealed.
Yes, I love that website because I can direct people there for awesome evidence-based information and clear up those questions. Our next question is thoughts about the use of olive oil and also B12 supplementation.
Oh, I encourage people to get their fat, all their micronutrients, their fat, their protein, and their carbohydrates from whole food sources. So if you want, the healthiest sources of fat are not oil, but rather nuts, seeds, avocados, nut butter, seed butters, etc. And what was the other part of the question?
B12 supplementation.
I encourage everyone eating. I mean, it's critically important for anyone eating a plant-based diet to ensure a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12. You can do that either through B12 supplements or B12 fortified foods. Probably the easiest is just 2,000 micrograms once a week of cyanocobalamin, the most shelf-stable form of vitamin B12. Though over age 65, probably 1,000 micrograms a day, just because our ability to absorb B12 declines with age.
Do you also advise on when people are on proton pump inhibitors that they should be concerned about their B12 levels if they're taking those medications on a chronic basis?
Indeed, you need stomach acid to basically extract B12 from foods. But if you're on a plant-based diet, you're not getting B12 from foods. And so the stomach acid doesn't matter if you're taking B12 supplements.
Yeah. This is an appreciation, not really a question, just an appreciation. So I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ann Dudley. She is one of our awesome lifestyle medicine physicians. She wants to say thank you for being an excellent resource that she personally and professionally turns to and refers people to.
That's very sweet.
Yes, your dedication to the field and promoting nutrition and evidence-based nutrition is it's so we can't tell you enough how helpful it is even in the work that we do. So thank you for that. I'm with Ann on that too. Our next question is there a difference between the sugar that's in fruits and the sugar in juice? A lot of people are afraid of fruit because of the sugar. So sugar and or fruit and juice different.
Well, so the difference is the fiber content. And so the sugar is packaged by Mother Nature along with fiber, which helps slow the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. So that's why it's always preferable to eat fruit in whole food form rather than just juicing it.
So we should not be afraid of fruit, and diabetics don't need to be afraid of fruit either.
No, in fact, they should go out of their way to include fruit in their diet. Diabetics randomized to increase fruit or decrease fruit. Guess who did better in terms of overall long-term blood sugar control? Those that added more fruit to their daily diet.
Yes, so much to gain from adding fruit, and so we shouldn't be afraid of it, but get more in so we can get those awesome nutrients. We have time for, I think, one more question before we close up here. So Deborah is asking, many of the beans are about 5 grams of protein. It seems like it would be hard to get 45 grams per day. How do you feel about vegan protein shakes?
Oh, well, everything has protein. There's protein basically everything you eat throughout the day, unless you're eating some highly processed crap. And so even though legumes are just the most concentrated form of protein, you're getting your protein from whole grains, etc. I think if you actually, you go to one of these websites where you can put in everything you eat, you'll be surprised how much protein you get. And we should try to get all our macronutrients from whole foods, not from oil, not from table sugar, and not from protein powders.
Yes, whole foods for the win, whole plant foods for the win. Fantastic. Thanks everybody for the questions. If you want to learn more about Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, if you have not been exposed to that, we have our next session, our 3-week session, 6 classes in that starting February 5th. You can go and register for that on our online registration on our website, and also in the emails you've been getting weekly, you will have a link there where you can go and register to learn more about all this incredible evidence that Dr. Greger gives us to work with. Thank you so much, Dr. Greger. It has been an absolute pleasure. This is something I'm going to remember for a very long time. So thank you so much and for providing this for our community. We are so thankful to you for keeping up this work.
Thank you. Keep up the good work yourself.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
day. Bye.